All right. So for my Epiphany of Learning, I want to cover this lesson where I was helping English language learners. Um, I was trying to help them learn the versions of run. Like we were discussing the I run, you run, he runs, we run, you run, they run, and also the past. We also worked on see and saw and the imperfect too, and the conditional too. They were working on the English verbs and also to go. But what I noticed was that the students they didn't they were having a hard time with the past because um, I kept asking them if they knew what the preterite and the imperfect was in Spanish for some words. So I was asking them, so do you guys know what you would say if you wanted to say ver in the preterite and the preterito, and they didn't really understand my question. Then I asked them if they knew the imperfect, and they didn't really understand my question either. When I asked them to name it off, they were just naming off random ones like the veíamos, the imperfecto de veía, and then the V when it should have been the viste or the vías. So they were having a really difficult time. So know, I didn't really understand what the problem was, but I finally figured out that they were confusing the yo, tú, ella, and usted with the imperfecto and the pretérito in Spanish. They didn't know the rules for the imperfect and the pretérito in Spanish. They were in Spanish class. Um, so they didn't know these rules in Spanish, and they were English language learners. The first language was Spanish, so they were having a very difficult time with the this version of English of the I, you, he, we, and you and they. So if they didn't understand this version of Spanish, or they didn't also understand it in Spanish. So I reminded them about the you, tú, ella, nosotros. So they got that down really quick because they already knew that. They just needed a refresher course. But what they needed more help was with the imperfect and the preterite in Spanish for the rules of the imperfect and the preterite. So I taught them the lesson. Well, I restarted the lesson and I taught them the preterite and the imperfect in Spanish all over again. Um, for the for the preterite, it's single action, interpretation, main event, beginning, action, also ending of an action, arrivals and departures, which is Simba, and cheated, characteristics, descriptions, health, emotion, age, time, endless activities. But I did all this in Spanish for them because Spanish is their first language. So then they understood the rules, so they were having an easier time because then they had a more difficult time conjugating the imperfecto with the vía and the vi and the viste. So what I did then, um, I helped them out with the conjugation with the ending with the vimos and the veían. I only helped them probably about altogether about 4 times, but by the time I figured out that it was the imperfect and the pretérito and the conjugation and the rules I didn't understand, it was my second to last time working with them, so I didn't really get to follow up on that lesson. I would have liked to follow up with them, but obviously couldn't. Um, all right. So my next epiphany of learning was for my Veterans Day presentation. My movie would not work. I guess it was blocked in the school, but it's actually like a news source, so it's nothing bad. But it didn't work. For a while there, I wasn't sure what to do, so I tried to get it to work. And while I was trying to getting in the video to work, I just still kept talking about what I knew about the army. But the students seemed to like the presentation a lot. So in other words, always be ready and with your backup plan, and also always be ready. Um, One of the times the teacher gave me a picture of the vocabulary words, and I didn't have the actual word of the vocabulary words. She ended up telling me that I did a really good job, but then she realized that she didn't give me the word for the pictures, but I did okay because they were easy things for me. I did ask some of the students, and it was pretty fun because some of the students were never used to a teacher actually asking them for something, and I thought it was pretty cool because I mean, why wouldn't we ask another person for something we don't know? You know, you should never be above asking for help when you need it. So, Epiphany of Learning is always back to the basics. You have to assess your students to understand what they don't know. Sometimes it can be difficult, and if they don't know the rules, how are they going to know that they don't know, like the imperfecto or the pretérito or the yo tú? So it was kind of a walk or a journey getting there, but hopefully they'll figure it out. Help them out with a Zimba. Always be ready because some of your stuff is not going to work. Have a backup plan and always have a positive can-do attitude and adaptable when you get told